It's week 4 of the 2023 NFL campaign, and today we are breaking down the Washington Commanders' week 4 matchup versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Before we get into this game, score prediction, keys to victory, all this good stuff on today's show, make sure you click that thumbs up icon if you want the Washington Commanders to shock the NFL world and get the upset on the road this week. Speaking of this week's game here, of course, it's going to be a tough divisional matchup for your Washington Commanders versus Jalen Hurts and last year's NFC East champion and NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, this team is on an absolute tear. 3-0 to start. They just played on Monday Night Football last night, actually. I'm recording this on Tuesday. And they absolutely destroyed the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Philadelphia Eagles are looking damn good. But if you know anything about this kind of matchup here, divisional football in the NFC East, expect the Washington Commanders to do everything in their power to try to make this a ball game. Now let's take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles and what they have to work with. Of course, they're 3-0 to start the season. They beat the Patriots, the Vikings, and then they just beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday Night Football in Week 3. Their head coach, of course, absolute clown, Nick Sirianni, if you ask me. Offensive scheme, modern pro spread. It comes from the Andy Reid tree of NFL offenses. Of course, Doug Peterson, then Frank Reich. Frank Reich to Nick Sirianni. Sirianni comes to the Eagles. Very similar type of offense. Lots of RPOs, lots of slants, lots of deep passes as well down the sideline from Jalen Hurts. That's the kind of stuff you can expect to see from this team on offense. Plus, they're known for that push, that QB sneak that is almost always successful on those 3rd and 4th and 1s and at the goal line. So really want to get this Eagles offense out of those short situations. You want to get them into those long field situations, obvious passing situations on 3rd down. And then defensively, they play a Fangio-style quarters-based defense. Lots of cover 4, lots of cover 6, lots of man-match stuff. They try to keep everything in front of them so that they can prevent big plays down the field. Sam Howell needs to be able to take what the defense is giving him and put the ball down the field. But we'll talk more about Sam later in today's show. But before I get into the rest of today's show, make sure you let me know who you think is going to win this week. Will the Commanders shock the world this week and pull off the upset? Let me know by typing WAS if you've got the Commanders this week, or if you've got the Eagles, type PHI down there in the comments. And this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me your winner for this Week 4 matchup. Now let's get into the strengths of this Philadelphia Eagles team to prepare you guys for what you guys are going to see on Sunday against this really good Eagles team, who I consider a top 4 team in the NFL right now. They've got dominant trench play, both offensive and defensive line. I mean, that offensive line right now, I mean, Jesus Christ, Jordan, there's not a weak spot here, man. Jason Kelce, arguably the best center in football. Lane Johnson, the same thing at right tackle. Jordan Mailata is one of the highest graded left tackles in the league. And then they've got 2 good guards as well. There's no weak spot here on the Eagles' offensive line. So it's going to deter one of the Commanders' greatest strengths in their pass rush. Well, it's going to be a great matchup here between some great talents in the trenches on that side of the football. Then you get to the defensive line, and it's very much the same. Josh Sweat is balling out on the outside there. Of course, you've got Nolan Smith in there as another outside linebacker, defensive end, Brandon Graham. I pulled this from our Eagles show. For some reason, they don't have Nolan Smith listed here, but you got Jordan Davis, you got Jalen Carter in there, Fletcher Cox, really, really good defensive line. It's absolutely an incredible unit, and it's just been dominating opposing NFL teams, and that's going to be a big problem because the Commanders' offensive line isn't exactly great, hasn't exactly been playing great to this point in the season. Then something else that this team does really well is that you got to give Jalen Hurts his due. Is he maybe a little bit overrated? Yes, I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League right now, but I think he is a top 10 guy. And when you watch the film, it's very easy to see why. He's a plus runner. You know, obviously can squat 500 plus pounds. He's great as a QB sneak quarterback, probably the best in football. But then the mental processing, the accuracy, the deep ball touch that he has, and then the playmaking to escape, to make plays outside of the pocket is probably it's borderline top 5 in the National Football League. However, the cons, pocket presence, doesn't feel the pocket all too well. If you can get pressure on him with that great offensive line for the Eagles, I think that you can absolutely make him bail from the pocket. You know, if you can really make this guy uncomfortable, you can make him make a couple bad decisions, but it's going to be really, really tough with that offensive line in front of him, consistently giving him clean pockets. Something else this team does really well is that they got two dynamic wide receivers for Jalen Hurts to throw the ball down to. Of course, that's A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Quez Watkins, right now, their number 3 receiver is hurt. He's going to be questionable to go this week versus the Commanders. But, man, when you got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, both guys that can kill you both after the catch and down the field, both of those guys are incredible talents. And right now, Emmanuel Forbes and Kendall Fuller are going to have to do a great job covering those guys if the Commanders want a shot to win this football game. Then also, I mean, the story of the Eagles' offense this year has been the run game these last 2 weeks. I mean, over the last 2 games, this has been the best run game in football by far, led by DeAndre Swift. Their running back, 259 yards versus the Vikings on Thursday Night Football in Week 2. Then on Monday Night Football against the Buccaneers, another 201 yards rushing. And you look at DeAndre Swift so far this year, he's been absolutely incredible. He's absolutely lighting it up these past 2 weeks. And this is going to be a big point of emphasis for Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio, and the rest of this Commanders defensive roster because, man, they're ripping people apart. I don't think they're going to be as successful as they have been the last 2 weeks. This week, I think the Commanders will do a slightly better job than what some of these other teams have been able to do, but it's definitely a point of emphasis, and DeAndre Swift in this Eagles running game is definitely for real. Then you get to the last strength I have for them here, defensive talent overall. They've got talent everywhere. We've already talked about their defensive line where they have players like a rookie sensation, probably the defensive rookie of the year this year, potentially Jalen Carter at defensive tackle. He's probably the leader at this point. He's been fantastic. Hassan Reddick, absolutely awesome as well. You've got a Hassan Reddick clone as well with Nolan Smith, who's on this roster in a rotational role. Jordan Davis is one of the best nose tackles in football right now. Josh Sweat has been balling out. Darius Slay and James Bradbury's a good cornerback combination. Like, they've got talent all over this defense. I got 10 players listed here, and you can only put 11 players on the field at a time. I mean, they've got a ton of really, really good players on this defense, and there's a reason why this roster is so highly regarded in NFL circles. But there are a couple of weaknesses that I think the Commanders can take advantage of. Number one, very predictable defensive scheme. All these Fangio disciple kind of teams that are basing their defense on Vic Fangio style, cover 4 quarters, cover 6, all this different stuff. It's pretty predictable, right? You can kind of tell pre-snap what they're going to be trying to do. They're going to be playing off-zone coverage. They're going to be playing off with their corners. They're not going to be really aggressive, getting after you or anything. They're not going to blitz a whole lot. They've got a great defensive line, so it's pretty predictable. So Sam Howell needs to know the answers to the test. We'll get to those keys to victory here in just a second. But also, a lackluster cornerback depth chart here for the Philadelphia Eagles. You got Darius Slay, you got James Bradbury, but after that, it gets pretty darn slim. I'm going to tell you how the Commanders can take advantage of that cornerback depth later on in today's show. And coming up here, I'm going to get to those keys to victory versus the Philadelphia Eagles here. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor at Game Time. And Game Time is the brand new sponsor here at the Commanders Report, and it is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, theater, and comedy in your area. Whenever I want to go get like some tickets for an MLB baseball game, NBA basketball, I love doing that kind of last minute. I'm sitting at work. I want to go get some tickets for a game. I'll just go to Game Time, and I know that they have the lowest price guarantee, and I know that I can get my tickets right away. And I just absolutely love this app, man. You look at all the features that this app has. It has this awesome feature where you get into the app, and then you can rotate your phone 360 so you can see the complete view of your seat before you buy it. It's absolutely fantastic, guys. I love using this app over every other ticketing app because I know I'm going to get the best price, and I know that the picture that I'm seeing on screen, that's what I'm going to see at the stadium. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. All-in prices, show your total up front so you know you're getting a great deal without hidden fees, and Game Time guarantee means you always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code NFLChat. Okay, again, NFL Chat is the promo code for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code NFL Chat for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, now let's get to these keys to victory for the Commanders. Number one, Sam Howell has to have the answers to the test. You know what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of cover 4 quarters. You're going to see a lot of cover 6. Okay, you got to know the answers to the test there. These are rules-based defenses, which means there's going to be certain route combinations that are going to beat it every single time. Sam needs to have multiple checks at the line of scrimmage. So if he sees cover 4 quarters, if he sees cover 6, he can get to it right away and he can get a nice play that he likes available to him. And I think Eric Bieniemy is going to do a good job preparing him to do just that. I'm still a believer in Sam Howell. I know he had a tough week last week, but I'm somebody that's seen what he's put on film, the pocket presence, the ability to target the middle of the field. I think last week was more of a flash in the pan. I think this week we're going to see a lot more good football from Sam Howell. Really excited to see how this kid plays. But if Washington wants to win this week, I really think Sam Howell has to ball out. Even though the offensive line is at a major mismatch to this defensive line, I really think Sam Howell has to perform big time this week. And I think if the Commanders win, I think we're going to be talking about Sam Howell being the reason why. Speaking of that mismatch, I think the Commanders need to not get bullied up front, both on the offensive and defensive lines here. I know that the dominant trench play here by the Philadelphia Eagles, it's tough to match, man. They've got great talent, but you just can't get bullied. If you don't get bullied, you give Sam Howell a shot. You don't get bullied in the run game. You know, you force Jalen Hurts to beat you with his arm, all that different stuff. I think they've got the talent on defense to make that happen. I'm less confident in this offensive line for the Commanders, who has given up 6 sacks to the Cardinals and then 9 sacks last week to the Bills. I mean, just imagine what it could be with arguably the best pass rush in football coming after Sam Howell. Hopefully, this offensive line can get it figured out this week. Then another thing that this defense needs to do is they need to contain the big chunks. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, 2 vertical threats, 2 guys that are really good after the catch as well. And then Jalen Hurts is a very accurate quarterback that can hit them in stride. Good mental processor as well. So you really need to stay disciplined. And the 2 corners for the Commanders, man, starting with Kendall Fuller, who has an 88.2 PFF grade to start this season. That's second in the National Football League among eligible corners. I was told by a bunch of people in this comment section that Kendall Fuller stinks, that the Commanders should cut him, that I should do my research. Well, guess what? I did do my research. This guy's a damn good football player, and now he's paying me dividends here by showing us that he's one of the best corners in the National Football League, at least to start this season. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Kendall Fuller. I think he's a perfect fit for Jack Del Rio's scheme, and I think that stuff is shown. And he's probably going to be on A.J. Brown for most of this football game. I think he does a pretty decent job. Then another player that I think could play an absolutely crucial role this week is Emmanuel Forbes. This guy has the record for the most pick sixes in college football history for a career. I would love to see him make a big splash play, whether that's just an interception or maybe interception, touchdown, pick 6. Can we get that from Emmanuel Forbes this week? That would be an absolute game changer if Forbes can get a pick 6 in this football game. Kind of a little bit of a momentum changer, kind of tip the scales a little bit. I think Forbes needs to make a big play in this one in order for the Commanders to have a shot. Then I think a big thing on offense this week is you got to get rid of the football fast. We've talked about what kind of defense the Eagles run, and we know how good their defense or how good their defensive line is. So what I'm saying, Sam Howell, get him out there, and then also get speed on the field. So this is kind of a double key here. You got to get probably 3-4 wide receivers on the field at a time, and you got to get the ball out quick. You got to replace the run game because I'm not sure there's going to be much push on the offensive line in the run game this week. Replace the run game with the short passing game, and then when you want to throw deep, put it down the sideline. Put Sam on a 3-step drop. Let it rip to Terry McLaurin down the sideline if he's got one-on-one coverage. That should be the plan going in. You have to take away this rush as much as you humanly possibly can because this is probably the biggest mismatch that you're going to see all season between an offensive line and a defensive line. And here's the thing. I mean, you look at the cornerback depth for Philadelphia, they're not very deep in their cornerback room. They got James Bradbury and they've got Darius Slay, and that's about it. Whereas the Commanders, they're very deep at the wide receiver position. You've got Terry McLaurin, you've got John Dotson, you've got Curtis Samuel, you've got De'Ami Brown. Force the Eagles to cover all 4 of these guys at the same time. That's going to be a big key to success for this offense. I think Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator, knows that. And I think that's going to be a big part of this game plan for the Washington Commanders in Week 3. However, I don't think the Commanders will come away with the victory this week. I will say divisional matchup, you never know what's going to happen, but the Eagles are arguably the best team in football right now, just in terms of not having many holes on their roster. They're so talented. They're so good up front. Jalen Hurts is a legitimate top 10 quarterback, in my opinion, and you're on the road. So I think that the Commanders will stick around. I don't think it'll be a blowout, but I think it's going to be 28-17. Eagles win. I think it's going to be a closer game when they come to FedEx Field later on in the season. And Sam Howell has his home crowd ahead of, he's playing in front of his home crowd. All that different stuff. I think that the Commanders have a better shot at upsetting the Eagles at home. Since this is the road matchup, I'm going to say that they're going to take a loss. But here's the thing, man. It's okay. You won those first 2 weeks of the season. You knew the Bills and the Eagles were going to be a tough 2 games. If you're 2-2 coming out of these first 4 games, you're still feeling pretty good about your playoff chances and about your roster as a whole if you are the Washington Commanders. And that's how I feel about this whole situation going into the weekend. Hey, if you win, that means that you are pretty much playing with house money. If you win, you're 3-1. You're feeling great about yourselves. If you lose, you're 2-2. You're still 500. You're still in the playoff race. So overall, I'm still feeling good about where this Washington Commanders team sits. Now it's your turn. You've heard my score prediction here. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section, and give me your score prediction for this Week 4 matchup down there in the comments section. That'll be it for me today, Commanders fans. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end of today's show. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now. Join us for all of our watch parties that we do this year. We got nearly daily of free content on the Commanders here on YouTube for you guys to enjoy. We're going to have injury updates throughout the week. We're going to continue to get you guys ready for this Week 4 matchup, and hopefully the Commanders can come away with a big-time upset victory. That'll be it for me today, guys. Really do appreciate your support. I will see you guys later, and until next time, hail to the Commanders.